Okay, good afternoon. I'm Dual McIntyre, and I will be the moderator of this session for the candidates for the Board of Selectmen. We have a very cozy group up here. We're a little cramped on the stage, but hopefully it will work out. The ground rules for answering the questions have been explained to the candidates in the audience, so I won't go over them again. There are 2 positions open on the Board of Selectmen this year, each for 3-year terms, and there are 5 candidates: Carol Dunton, Alan Reinhardt, Patricia Ragaveen, Whitey Willauer, and Clifford Williams. Alan Reinhardt and Patty Ragaveen are the incumbents. This year we will not be having opening statements, as the candidates have had extensive exposures in both papers, but we will allow each of them to make a 1-minute closing statement at the end of the questions. Now I'll turn to the panel for the first round of questions, and I'll ask Dan Drake to direct the question, and the first responder will be Alan Reinhardt.
Thank you, Dual. So many questions and not much more time. Maybe not everyone would agree that being elected a selectman takes the fire out of a candidate's belly. However, many think that those who have been elected in recent years on platforms of new ways of thinking and change have been absorbed into the system and quickly lost their enthusiasm to try to be creative or rock the boat. If you are or have been a selectman, in what ways do you feel that your actions as a selectman make this view of you unfair? And if you've not been a selectman and are elected, what would you do so that the perception of you might be different?
Boy, that's a tough one to start with. I've got to say that the role of the selectman is multifaceted. There are a lot of different things that we have to deal with, a lot of different issues, a lot of different concerns, and a lot of different decisions that we have to make. One of the things that I would say in answer to your question is that over the last 3 years, I've developed a real appreciation for the role of the job that the selectmen have in terms of establishing policy, in terms of leadership, in terms of addressing problems in the community. And as far as the fire in the belly, I think if anything, it's probably increased with my awareness of the role, the very serious role that the selectmen have to play.
Thank you. Now, Clifford will be the next responder, please.
I think by engaging the community and making things simpler for people to understand the numbers, say for the sewer or for the dump. The dump's the best example. People have complained about the dump, but I can't find a handful of people that can actually explain to me the actual problems with the dump. So I think a lot of people are just frustrated with the information not being as clear as it could be. And hopefully that's one of my goals, to get involved in the budgets and get right down to simple numbers and express that to the community so they can have better choices.
Thank you, Whitey.
Thank you. I'm Whitey Willauer, and I'm a former selectman and a former chair of the Board of Selectmen. And I've had an opportunity over the past 2 years to observe the board in action, and I've got lots of ideas. And I would love to get in there and hit the ground running, but most important, I think, is the economics of what's going on in the island and in the country. And I think that's where my focus would be. How do we improve the economics of Nantucket? I've got a couple of ideas which I may explain as we go along, but I know I have limited time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carol Dunton. I'm running for the board not necessarily to rock the boat, because we're all in rather rough waters right now. But I'd like to row her in a different direction from what is currently happening. I am, at this point, focused on the financial situation of the town, which is just not very healthy, as is the financial picture for a lot of us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty Ragavanian. I remember a few years ago when I did run for the board, I had a few goals when I did run, and I feel very strongly that I've gone out of my way to make sure that some of those were accomplished. We are in a better situation with our audits. We are in a better situation understanding our landfill budgets. All of these I've made as a commitment. Municipal government is pretty straightforward, though, and I think that part of what Alan reflected on is something I'd like to say. When you're in the seat, you make difficult decisions, and those decisions aren't always as easy as it might sound up here in terms of general commentary. I think that when you say yes or no to someone at the board table, those are the times where you're rocking the boat in a very significant way.
Thank you. Jason?
Thanks, Dual. I asked this question last round, but it also applies to you guys. And one of the most important jobs you have, if you're elected, is evaluating the performance of the town manager, how that person is managing the town. So I was hoping each of you could give your personal criteria of how you would go about evaluating the town manager and the job that person does.
And I'll ask Clifford to respond first. I'm sorry, I should have told you that at the beginning.
Well, I work for the federal government, so I can see just how much paperwork it takes to get anything done, and a massive amount of paperwork that Libby's office probably has to absorb. And I don't think the average person could appreciate what entails of just getting anything done these days, seeing we have endangered mosquitoes and moss and DEP rules and unions. So not sure if I'm answering the question, but I think Libby's doing a great job, and I think the town employees are doing a great job, and it's pretty complicated for most people to fathom.
And just quickly, I'm not asking how Libby's doing her job, but just what your criteria is when you and how you would evaluate a town manager, be it Libby or anyone.
Let me go again.
You go again?
Is that how it works?
Why don't we go through, Whitey, why don't you respond?
Oh, okay, I'd be happy to. I've had the opportunity of evaluating Libby, I think, 2 or 3 times, and what happens, as far as I'm concerned, is I involve all of the board and give them a set of criteria, and then I go in and talk to her, and one of the things that I do say to her is, please evaluate me also, because I feel it's a team. And I generally am more interested in how we work as a team and how she works, or the town manager and the assistant town manager work as a team. Thank you.
I think personally that as a select woman, I would base the evaluation on how well the town manager or any town manager deals with the many departments. And not only do we have departments here, we have committees, almost 40 of them. And I think her management of each department and her, supporting her in the management of the departments, working with the department's heads, to me would be a very important part of her evaluation.
I've had the opportunity in my private life to do a lot of job evaluations for individuals, and I think that bringing this to the board is one of the values I do bring forward. As far as the town manager is concerned, I feel strongly that the capacity in that job needs to be a negotiator. They need to be able to deal with contracts and with individuals. They need to have strong follow-through and organizational skills. There's an awful lot of material that comes across the town manager's desk, and believe it or not, none of those balls can drop. They all have to be met. They all have to be to be addressed. But finally, I think one of the biggest attributes I would find in evaluating a town manager is their capacity to challenge the board. That town manager has to say that their overall perspective is of value, and that overall perspective can sometimes disagree with ours.
The organization of town government is what determines the success or failure, I think, of government in any community. In terms of the criteria in evaluating the highest administrative officer, the town manager, I think that one of the first criteria should be results. And of course, results are measured against standards, against objectives that are set forward by the board. Over the last 3 years as a selectman, and even before that, with the Town Government Study Committee, the evaluation, the improvement, the professionalization of town government has been an objective.
Thank you.